Heading across the land of a dark power rising in the northern wastes. The armies of chaos are on the move. They surely plan to invade the world of mortals once again. Prepare your defenses well, for the forces of chaos spare no one in their quest for bloodshed.
Hello, welcome back to Let's Play Warhammer Total War. This is Tolvo. Chaos has started its invasion of the world, or the old world in particular. We won't have to worry about that much as we're playing as the Greenskins to the far south. It's up into the deep north where the Norskins, the Norsemen, as well as Chaos will be invading from. We may have to deal with them a little bit to the west, but otherwise we should be fine. We're getting pretty close to defeating the dwarves. Our army of Black Orcs is ready, as well as we have the Crimson Killers. Regiments of Renown are pretty handy. They're generally just flat out better than their normal counterparts. The Rusty Arrows are really helpful because they're about all for missile infantry that the Greenskins have against armored enemies.
Goblins!
Still, while the Greenskins do have some pretty good or decent infantry, the dwarves do outmatch them, especially with their armor. Longbeards and Ironbreakers are a hell of a thing to deal with.
Night, goblins!
Run, boys!
Run it!
I believe I've mentioned it before, but the Regiments of Renown for the Greenskins and the Dwarves were added with the King and the Warlord update of Skarsnik versus Clan Angry. The Dwarves and Orcs are kind of like arch enemies. They're also able to take over each other's holds, whereas they cannot normally get into the holds or settlements of humans, of vampire counts, of the Empire of Bretonia, or the Wood Elves. Not the High Elves. That's the next game. Now, I should perhaps have a larger line of Black Orcs for this, rather than so many Night Goblin Archers. The Archers aren't very handy against the Dwarves, which I've been majorly fighting. Also, I apologize if you hear any sounds of puppies. They may be playing at any point, and I'm watching them today as I record. Using Azhag here to help buff up the leadership and weaken the enemies around my Black Orcs that are not doing quite as well. Using our cavalry to take out the rear where the enemy skirmishers and missile infantry are. While also doing battle here at the computer, I'm doing battle between my puppies below as they're biting my hand while I try to separate them.
Goblins!
I'm not quite sure if you're able to hear them or not. Getting a little look of close-up on Azhag, as he's not actually that good of a melee fighter yet. I thought, you know, Thorgrim isn't very tough exactly, but no, Thorgrim still beat him up pretty soundly. That was a mistake on my part.
Get going!
I could have built Azhag to be a bit more beefy, but I decided against it. I wanted to have some benefits for my orcs early on, because of orcs really suffer from leadership, as I've probably said many, many times by now.
Squeak hoppers! Gonna kill them!
All around, there was some mismanaging here, as well as the composition of my army not being that great.
Squeak hoppers!
Now Azhag is back. He can't do too much physically, but we can have him start buffing up our units from above, while being wary of any sort of missile fire coming his way. If his magic reserves do regenerate, then we can use him to get a nice little soul attack off on Thorgrim. The dwarves are starting to get mopped up. Boy, if today wasn't just a struggle enough for recording. Now my dad's playing guitar, so hopefully I'll be able to edit that down a little bit. Also, apologies for the beeping. I don't quite remember what was causing that. What in the recording was, or something going on. But that was not your computer doing that, it was mine. Despite some hiccups, we managed to defeat the dwarves and Thorgrim Grudgebearer.
Yes, it shall be.
Oh, mighty Lord, the fates have surely selected you for greatness. Thanks to my guidance, your tremendous power grows, as if driven by some divine power. Your enemies tremble before you.
I split my attention a bit too much here in my conquest. I was trying to take the southern and western Badlands while also taking the northwestern as well as the dwarven holds. I should have really been focusing in one direction, really. Because as you can see here, I have an army full of just orc boys, and I'm going to be heading west as Wurzhag with them. But the problem is just orc boys aren't really going to cut it anymore.
I'll crush them all. Now we're talking.
I'm also going to begin colonizing regions that were destroyed long ago by the Beastmen. The Beastmen and Chaos are able to sack areas, but mostly they like to raise things. The Beastmen, I think, can only raise, but in different types of defile or raise and loot.
I am true power. Time for the slaughter.
Now I'm going to be getting rid of some of my other units that aren't really cutting it anymore, or that I have too many of. Just to bring out a lot more black orcs. The dwarves are definitely on their way out now. But we're still having to deal with raiding and not really having a very stable grasp on our own land.
15.
Begun.
We still have the top knots to the southwest to deal with, and they can be kind of tricky. They don't use black orcs, but they do use quite a bit of savage orcs, and savage orcs can be able to match quite a bit. They're not as strong as Wurzhag's savage orcs. Wurzhag is able to give them even armor piercing to help deal with armored units. We're going to start seeing ourselves falling back a little bit and failing, and it's only my own fault.
This is my land. Get up.
But in the north, we're going to hold pretty well.
About
It's to the
time.
west that we have to be wary. Here's where some of the troubles begin.
Boys, ready for here we go. Feel my powers.
Wurzhag's army is comprised entirely of orc boys and orc error boys.
Ready.
It's just not going to be able to stand up to all the savage orcs. On top of that, I don't really have much of Wurzhag's more useful magic because of how the AI happened to have built him. So let's take a look at Wurzhag dance. He loves to dance. Just speeding things up. This battle. Oh boy, this battle.
Please lead. Right, boys.
Now, our best hope is for Wurzhag to be able to take out the enemy leader. He does still have some magic available to him. We have a missile spell that we can use on the enemy leader.
Fresh spells are ready. Now, boys.
Already our orc boys are starting to fall apart. There's just no way to win this battle. Warzag does put up a good fight, but it just isn't enough. And there we go, our whole line is gone. What a disaster. Now we can recover from it, but we're going to start losing territory. And we'll be without Warzag for a little bit. Thankfully, being a legendary lord, when he dies, we don't lose him forever. Instead, he'll be merely wounded for a certain amount of turns, and then he'll come back and be recruitable. Just showing a bit of how I've been leveling up as Hagmore. I'm not going too deep into the magic because I don't find too many of his spells useful. I prefer to just focus on one and empower it as much as I can, and then build him up to be supporting his black orcs, because mainly that's what I'm going to be using as him. Eventually I'll be switching over to a few monsters as well, and how our research tree is going. I'm again working towards upgrading the black orcs. They're going to be our front line and our most useful unit. And now we've taken the capital of the dwarves, or are about to take the capital of the dwarves, rather.
Warzag. Uprising. Deerling. Uprising.
I guess, though, if you can hear my dad's guitar, enjoy the music. Now for Warzag, it's time to start building up the Savage Orcs. Let's go! Doing a quick save here just for safety. It shouldn't really be required. That's enough magic reserves to do well for us.
Black Oaks, this is it.
I really should have gotten rid of the trolls. The trolls weren't bringing much to the table anymore. The black orcs are just superior to them and have better leadership and are immune to psychology. What I could use is perhaps a giant. I also want to get myself a Doom Diver catapult. As someone brought up in the thread, it's a very useful siege weapon, very great against infantry.
Moving fast!
Ready! Moving fast!
Lord, watch out! I'm gonna kill!
My second army I'm going to not control too much. I'll leave them to mostly handle themselves. Right now, I'm keeping Warzag away so that the enemy Quarrelers and Thunderers won't have an easy chance hitting him as he waits for the rest of his army. We have also brought in with the Arachnarok Queen. This is a gigantic arachnid that is covered in thick plates of armor, with goblins atop its back firing off arrows at enemies. It's also, as the Arachnarok Queen, the Broodmother, it's able to send out hatchlings that will attack enemies. Now, when you summon units onto the field, this is not how they used to work, but how they currently work is they slowly lose health over time. Originally, they did not lose any health, but this was changed because it was just too powerful. Things like manticores could be summoned, things like the Cygor, skeletal soldiers, zombies. In the newest Total War game, Total War Warhammer 2, things like Skademen. So now they lose health over time. I'm having Azhag the Slaughterer lessen the enemy armor and morale, while we let the Arachnarok Queen just let loose into them. She is a mighty foe, and without good armor-piercing weaponry, especially ranged weaponry, they're going to have a tough time dealing with her. Now, in case they happen to route backwards, they're going to route right into my next army. But these dwarves don't stand a chance. A very easy victory for us. But I want to make sure the enemy leader is dead. Also, here we see the summoning of the hatchlings. That's Grombrindle, the White Dwarf. He is a figure almost akin to the Green Knight of the Bretonnians. He appears in the time of need of dwarves. And Grombrindle is pretty tough. It's taking so long still to even deal with him while he's shattered and routing. It's taking basically my entire army just to take him down. But we'll get him eventually. I'm thankful I did not send Azhag to start at the start to go and fight him. Azhag would have been completely destroyed. And there he goes. Now we can end the battle. Which was pointless because I forgot this was a settlement battle, meaning everyone had died anyway. Now we've got to get back to holding our territory. Starting to build up a lot of defenses so that territories can hold themselves. Something I should have been doing a long time ago, but I wasn't managing my resources and provinces properly. Again, another mistake on my part. But that was pretty much the last army of the dwarves. They're on fumes now. And Azhag's army is almost ready. Or not Azhag, Wurzag. Azhag's army is already ready. Wurzag's is still in the works. It's time to start getting him some Savage Orc biggins. To the southwest, the Top Knots have taken some territory back, but we're going to be sending Wurzag down to retake it. When leveling Wurzag, I prefer to build him up as a leader a bit similar to Azhag at first. Or not at first, no. The way I build him up at first is magic-wise. I want his magic to be powerful. And then I build them up as more of a leader, so that I can get armor piercing and benefits for my Savage Orcs, as their usefulness falls off in the latter end, when they're no longer top tier infantry. But that is enough for this episode. I'll see you next time in the next episode, which may not be Greenskins actually. Bye!